What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Hog Holler. It's your favorite hillbilly coming to you live right out of the Hog Holler graveyard. I hear they're about to put a fence up around this place because people are just dying to get in. Oh, yeah, I'll stick to telling stories. How's that? Been a few days, guys. It's good to hear from y'all. Good to let y'all know that I'm still out here live and kicking. I've been a little under the weather myself. You ain't heard from me. I've been battling, maybe it's gallbladder or food poisoning, or I don't know, some sort of virus. Either way, I've been battling something. And on top of that, I've been battling gout off and on for years. Now, trust me, I've drunk the cherry juice and all the home remedies that you can do or take for it, and it don't bother me no more. It's just where the gout has been, the damage it's already done. So that's why you don't see me on big long hikes and stuff. Right there's the big open spot in the graveyard. I get asked about that a lot. Of course, everybody knows. They just fascinated with it. That supposedly there was a woman who was an old witch in these mountains, and her family got a plot here a long time ago, and there's a bunch of them buried in here, or a bunch of her family. And of course, witchcraft was passed down in their families. And I can even feel walking, I can feel some of the sunk spots in the ground, so I know that they are. And buried in here in unmarked graves. That's kind of creepy. Right there, I just stepped in one. But so nobody else wanted to be buried in this area or nowhere near this area or around it. I don't guess I can blame them. But yeah, if you look how they're all pushed together right over there. A lot of them are old graves. And then you get this big old wide open spot here. And then you get back over here and they're pushed together over there. But I think I know a couple of graves that I know for sure. I know one of the graves that is the witch's grave. I think I done a video about it, maybe my second, third video, somewhere in there. And I hope to the Lord that the wind done this, and some of these people over here in this motel didn't get just a little bit too much hunch punch in them and come over here and do this, or some kid. And I'll tell you what, if you a kid and you done this, you need a knot jerked in your hind end. And if you're an adult and you done this, well, they just ain't no hope for you. Anyhow, back to the story here. I kind of get off when I see stuff like that, get started on that. I got a story to tell y'all that it was told to me growing up by my granny, but now it come from my great grandmother. It happened to her and was told, and it has been passed down. She'd tell my granny about it and so on. Granny would tell us when we was young, and it scares to death. I mean, it was one of them scary stories that I guess the reason it was so scary is you picture it happening to you. You know, when you put yourself, what I'm about to tell you, in her shoes, as this is happening to you, then you can sort of understand the fear that she was going through that evening, that dark evening in these mountains when this happened to her. And now to set the scene, when something scary somewhere else and it happens in these old Smoky Mountains, well, it's twice as scary. Because number one, you've always got that old fog and smoke rolling. Looks like those old movies you see like in London, the streets of London and stuff in the middle of the night. Well, that's how it really is here a lot of the time. And then the darkness here, you're in these hollows and you got a mountain on one side and a mountain on the other. It gets dark there a whole lot quicker than it does in some wide open spot. So hence it's darker here and foggier. Not to mention how old these mountains are and this land, and you know all that, and now you're looking at something that you don't understand. And I tell you, your scared meter tacks out on you right there. So let's get into it here, and I'll tell you a little bit about what happened. Back a long time ago in these parts, and still today, when somebody is dying or have died or bad sick, the people in the community will fix something to eat and send to them. You know, they'll fix food for the person, and they'll send it to them. And that's always been a tradition around here. You know, they'll fix cakes or even fix some sort of big meal, you know. And that's always been a tradition. Let me try to get between these graves here. I try not to step on these graves. And, you know, even me and my wife, we still do that to this day. The people we know or friends of ours, if something happens, we'll try to fix something or at least buy a bucket of chicken and send it to them. And that's just the way we was raised to do. I don't know if anybody else does that or not. So anyway, there was this family that lived about probably a mile and a quarter, I'd say, from the old home place where my granny grew up. This woman's husband was dying. Now, there's going to be parts of this story that I don't know. There's going to be details I'm going to have to leave out because I don't know. This man had been in prison. Now, I don't know why, and I don't know what for. I don't know if I was ever told or I just can't remember. But he had been in prison, and he wasn't a good man. People around the area didn't like him. Now, they liked his wife, liked his children, but they knew he was just bad. He was a bad man, bad person. He had done something terrible to be sent to prison. But while he's in prison doing his prison sentence, he gets sick. And they tell him he doesn't have long to live. And again, I don't know. I was so young, I don't know what sickness he got, you know. But they sent him home to die. They was going to let him die at home. They did give him that. But by the time they did send him home, he was already bedridden. You know, he only had days when they sent him home. I think she said they actually sent him home and sent a guard with him. But so he's on his deathbed at these people's house when my great-grandmother, as a little girl, her mother called upon her to take them a plate of something that she had fixed. I don't know if she fixed them a cake or what she had fixed, but she told her to take that down the road and deliver it to the family. And she said she would. So now it's already late in the evening. So the great-grandmother takes off down the road and gets to the house and visits with them for a little while. And she never sees the man. He's in the bedroom. She can hear him in there, sort of, or hear somebody in there making noise, you know, somebody taking care of him. But he's not long for this world at this point in time now. But anyway, she visits for a few minutes, visits with the children there for a few minutes, leaves the plate, and now it's time to walk home. Now this is back in the, golly, I'm just going to guess, I'm going to say the late 20s maybe. Crap, probably earlier than that. Yeah, I'm going to say it's earlier than that. I'm going to say the roads was probably dirt and people traveled horse and wagon on them. Maybe a car every now and then. I highly doubt it. So, at best, it's a dirt trail that she's got to walk back home. So, she heads off home. By now, it's gotten dark in this old holler. So, she's headed back home. And walking home, she starts getting that feeling. It's just a feeling that you get. You can call it a static in the air. There's no way to explain. I've had this feeling. There's no way to explain how you feel before something supernatural happens to you, or happens. You just, there's electricity that you pick up on if you've got the antenna, let's say. And she picks up on this. She picks up on something's just not right here. But she don't slow down. She keeps going. And as she gets on a long straightaway of that path, you know, the old smoke rolling out of the mountains pretty good now, the old haze and fog and stuff. So she comes to a spot where the creatures of the night's not chirping and singing, the birds ain't whistling. It's nothing but just silence. So grandmother said this really creeped her out, you know. So she walks on, and a little ways down the path there, down the old dirt road, she can see somebody walking toward her, coming toward her. She can't tell who it is, if it's some of her kinfolk come out to look for her, or if it's, you know, she don't know who it would be out walking this time of night. There ain't that many more houses up in the holler, but it's headed toward her, and she's walking toward it, back home. And as she gets closer to it, she can't make anything out other than it's just pure black. Looks like it could be a woman wearing a dress, a black dress, and a veil over her face. Well, at about the same time, I guess she sees this thing walking toward her, she feels like it sees her because it stops walking. So she slows way down to a crawl, wondering now, what's happening here? What's going on? What is this? Who is this? You know, why have you stopped? And she realizes that she's going to have to walk past this thing to get home. You know, she's going to have to come within 10 to 15 foot of this thing to pass by it. And it'd be better if it was moving too, so it would make it a whole lot quicker, but it's not. It's stopped. And it's just looking at her. She feels it looking at her. And she says she starts to shake and tremble because this overwhelming fear comes up on her. Now, she's a Christian woman, you know, goes to church, fears the Lord and everything. But she also, later, as she growed up in life, would know when she was in the presence of just pure evil. And thinking back about that happening to her when she was a child, she would say she knew she was in the presence of something that was pure evil. And where did it come from? Have no idea. Come out of these old mountains, she don't know where it come from. But like I say, she's gonna have to walk past it to get home. So she takes her breath and heads that way walking. And the thing never makes no motion to move or do anything. And as she gets a little closer to it, she says, "Howdy." And nothing. That's not going to speak to her. You know, she would say later that if this thing would spoke, you know, this wouldn't been near as stressful, near as bad on me, but it didn't. It wouldn't speak. So she's getting terrified. She's going to have to pass this thing. So she gets closer and closer. And she says as she gets up on it, she's about to pass it, her heart's beating out of her chest. She said she's physically shaken now, that this thing, if it's looking at her, it can see her shaking. It can actually see her tremble. And as she gets right to it, closer to it, she can hear whispering. And she's thinking, well, you know, maybe is this thing talking to me? Is this lady or whatever this is trying to communicate? She can hear whispering. But it's whispering that's in a different language. She says she can't understand a word that's coming out of it. And then she can barely hear it. And it's just sort of like something like that. And she says fear just rose up in her. And as she's hearing this thing do this, all of a sudden, here's another voice. And it's coming from this thing too. Now she's got like a conversation going, like two voices whispering to each other. And this absolutely scares her to death because she has no idea what's going on here, what's happening. You know, this thing talking, whispering in 2 different languages, or one language that I don't understand, absolutely scared her to death. And as she got right beside it to pass it, she's looking out of the corner of her eye to her right at it, and she said right when she got beside it, it turned to face her. And she said when it did, she said, I took off running. She said, something put the fear in me, and I knew I had better make my feet move. And she said before she took off running, she was sort of struck with fear and couldn't move. But then she was able to move. Then when she was, buddy, she flat took off and got out of there. Said as she's running, gets on down the road from it just a little bit, she looks back, and she still sees it. It's still there. And by this time, it has turned, and it's watching her run away. It's looking at her. She never sees its face. It's got this black veil on over its face. Never sees anything. And she says as she's running away, she remembers smelling a smell of rot, just like decay or death. She remembered that when she got up on it, and as she's running away, that she almost had to stop and puke because of how this smelled just like pure death. And she turns around and she keeps going. She runs a little bit further. She stops again. And she turns around and looks. It's gone. Nothing. Well, she don't slow down. She goes on home. She goes on home and tells my granny, or great-grandmother, what she heard, what she saw. And they just immediately start praying in the living room. And then the next day, they go around in the community and talk to some folks. I guess you would call them granny witches back then. They go talk to some folks, go talk to the preacher and stuff, and they get 2 or 3 different things from people. So I'll leave it with you all as far as what you think this was, but here's what we was told. And I say we, my family. We was told that this thing was possibly the angel of death, and it had come to take that man to where he was going, and she just happened to encounter it on her way home. Now, I ain't saying that I believe any of these. I'm just throwing these out there to things that people try to rationalize things, and even though that's not rational thinking for the time, believe me, it was. So one view is, a couple of people in the community viewed it as this was the angel of death, because the man did die that night. He did die later that night, and it was on its way to claim his soul. Other people believe that the man had died, and whatever this was his attachment in life. This was what made him so evil. This is what followed him around in life. And now it needed somebody else to attach itself to. And it couldn't attach itself to her because, well, at 15 she'd already been saved. But anyways, that's what half of the other people believe. So we never did find out, what this thing was. This went on to affect her for a long time when she was growing up. Like I say, I think she was 14, 15. This affected her for a long, long time growing up. She would have nightmares. She would have to be talked to with preachers and be canceled. And she finally got over it. But as she got older, she would still have nightmares about it. She would claim to see this thing again later in life, looking in her window one time, and then another time she had claimed to see it in the woods. They were on their way somewhere, At this point, driving in a car, and she was older, and it was just dark, and she was looking out, and she saw this thing up in the woods somewhere. She'd see it in her dreams, in her bedroom. So this, whatever it was, it affected her, but it didn't rule her. She was able to let go of it. But she would tell that story, and then my grandmother would tell it to me and tell it to us growing up, and putting ourselves in that position, you being the only one there on that lonely, dark road, way away from nobody, just you and something pure evil. And man, that's just terrifying. It's just plumb terrifying. So I know I'd had dreams about it growing up. She would claim that sometimes when she would go by that spot where this happened as she got older and up right before she died, that on rainy days and stuff, that she could every now and then get a whiff of that rot on that road. Right up to the day she died sometimes. Not every time, but every now and then, because she'd ask my grandmother, said, you smell that? Can you smell that? And of course they would say, no, we don't really smell anything. She'd say, I do. But I can't help but think about that when I drive by that place. Now it's a paved road. It's still a road that really don't go nowhere. Not many houses on it. It's just one of these little cut-through roads that you get on now to go from point A to point B. But I think about it sometimes and put myself in that position. Scary, scary, scary thought. You might have noticed I've kind of walked in a circle here. I've got something else I want to show you, and I didn't want to walk away from it. I'll tell you a story, and I hope, well, I don't want to say I hope that nobody's died. I hope the people whose little boy this is not listening, have maybe already passed on or not listening to this channel. I hope it doesn't get back to the lady who was babysitting this boy on this particular day. Of course, I don't have that many followers, so the odds, that, and especially around here, nobody don't really want to hear the stuff I've got to say that lives here. They've already heard it, most of them, or seen it, so a lot of my followers don't even live around here. But this little boy over here, on June the 5th, 1981, this little boy, I won't call his name, I'll show you his grave. He was being babysat by a young lady. She was a teenager, and she was babysitting him. There it is. I went to school with his brother. Me and him was good friends in school, so I know his brother's still alive. I seen him not too long ago. She was babysitting this boy, and he was on a riding lawnmower, driving it around and around. Now, I don't think he had the blades down or none of that. I think he was just driving it to be driving it. But anyway, they had a pond on their property, and he got too close to the edge of the pond, and the lawnmower turned over, and it turned over on top of him, and it pinned him down. And bless her heart, the poor girl who was babysitting the boy could not get the mower off of him. It was a tragic, tragic thing. I could only imagine how she felt out there trying to pull the mower off of this young man. A tragic, tragic thing. And that's probably some of his kinfolk right there. Maybe his father, I don't know. But anyway, that's a tragic story that happened to this little boy. I remember when that happened. Like I say, of course, I was young when that happened too. That was a big happening in the community. I remember riding my bicycle up here the day they was burying him, and there was cars all the way down that road as far as you could see, and all the way back down that road there, and on that road up there. I mean, there was a lot of people in the community come out for that. It was a terrible, terrible day. But anyway, guys, I know I'm rambling on here. I got one more thing I'd like to ask of y'all. I enjoy talking to y'all in my comments and stuff, and enjoy meeting you all, the ones I have met. I've not had much trouble with the locals since I've toned it down a little bit on the wild man and the feral man and the Dennis Martin stuff, but I'm not done with that yet, by no means neither. Going to revisit that. If I was done with it, I would almost pull the hood off, you know, but I'm not done with it yet. And as long as I'm not done with it and people still have a problem with me around this area, I'll probably just soon remain not known. Anyway, I've got some people I would like for y'all who do pray, who believe in a power of prayer. I would ask that you pray for a couple of friends of mine. First one being my brother Martin Groves. He's not doing well. He's a little on the sick side, and I asked for prayers for Martin. He's a good man, good fella, been good to me. I've got a lantern he gave me, and I pondered on bringing it up here with me, but it ain't hardly dark enough. And then I'd ask that you all say a prayer for my buddies, brother and sister Barton, Nunley, and Letitia. You know, they've been sick here lately and not doing too well either. So, and these are good people. You know, if these wasn't good people, I wouldn't be having anything to do with them, I promise you. All these people are good people and would do anything to help anybody. I've seen it, I know. So I ask for prayers for my brothers and sisters and hope that they get to feeling better. I need to reach out to them, call them. I don't do that enough. I'm bad about that. But I need to reach out to them. And if any of y'all want to reach out to me or whatever, you know, I don't get comments, especially on my old videos. I have no idea what's being said on them. Maybe if on my newer videos, try to come up here, maybe. I have met a few people up here if I'm not working and I am home and people are in town, you know. I don't care a bit to meet people, you know. Might check you out from afar and then come over and meet you, but like I say, I've gotten close to a few of these people since I've been doing videos. Reach out, a few of my followers know who I am now. Of course, a few of these people I've met and made trips to the LBL with, and a few other good friends of mine know who I am. Some other YouTubers, they know who I am that I reach out to, but don't care a bit to come up here and meet some of y'all. I enjoy talking to you in the comments. So I've got other stories that I can tell. Just getting up here and telling them is a problem. Once I get up here, seems like I don't shut up. But I'll get off from here. I see somebody up there moving around. Kind of weird. See him under that tree up there? Wearing red. Anyways, guys, I'll get off from here and I'll check y'all out later. See what's going on up here. Whoever this is just went behind the tree there, sort of hide from me, looks like. I don't know, maybe another YouTuber. Maybe somebody sick of seeing my videos. There they are. Guys, I'll check back in with y'all, and I will see you all soon, guys. Thanks.